Welcome to the Exit Rich podcast, where the leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies, Michelle Seiler Tucker, is dedicated to helping you find the path to retire rich and move on to your next adventure by exiting your business for the desired dream price you deserve. Get ready to exit rich with your host, Michelle Seiler Tucker.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Exit Rich. I'm here with my very good friend, James Dentley, and we are about to play his sizzle reel, which will save me from reading his very long bio. So stay tuned while we play his sizzle reel. Wow. Well, that's beautiful, but it didn't say anything. Okay. So James, welcome to the show. So you have had quite the entrepreneurial past and you have done so many things that it's hard to list them all. One thing that kind of really struck out to me is you're empowering women and your women speaking and you're empower women and everything else.
Well, I tell you, I've been training speakers for over almost a quarter of a century, and I've been teaching people how to start their own home-based business for over a quarter of a century. And, it's kind of interesting because in teaching people how to start a business, I've stood in front of audiences of 20, 25,000, totally over 1 million people. And we got about 83 people who've become millionaires because of that information and plugging in and taking action towards it. And it's so interesting because it sounds impressive on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a very, very small percentage. So when we teach people what to do, it's amazing that most people just still don't go out and do it. So when I began to train speakers, I wanted to make sure that they had a platform to speak on when they left. And when I would speak on those large stages, Michelle, and you may know this, that because you're out there and speaking on these massive stages, people know you, but I was watching, I would go to certain events. I won't name these organizations, but I would speak there and maybe make $125,000 in an hour. Somebody else would make $250,000, $500,000. But there was only one woman that I ever saw in all the years on that circuit that was making really, really big money. No minority women whatsoever, but there wasn't an opportunity for women. So when I was building my speaker camp and training people, and they paid me good money to do it, and I did the best I could to help them become successful, I wanted to create a platform that would take it further, that they can be in control of their own destiny, and then teach them how to do their own events as well, so they can control it, because the message was so powerful and so necessary. So that's really how it began with Limitless, was to create a platform for the people that became parts of our family, so they can win and succeed and share empowering information throughout the world.
That's wonderful. So who was that female speaker?
Her name was how do you pronounce it? Sharika. Yeah, she used to be with Tony Robbins, and she would take off her shoes and be on her bare feet, and she would slay it. And before I got out there selling from a platform, I'd watched this woman make about $90,000 and it was a room of about, 120 people. And I said, well, how do you do that? But she was so good with her content. But I think the important thing was that what she delivered on the back end really made a difference for the people that I met. Their lives were transformed because of that interaction. And I think that's why it's important.
Okay. So you've trained lots of people, not just women, on how to have a better speaking career, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So what are your three biggest tips on how to be a better speaker, especially if you're selling from the stage? Like you said, selling $425,000 in an hour. That sounds like pretty good numbers to me.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I teach, Michelle, is the psychology of that communication, how to use your voice like a soundtrack to a movie. And that way you can speak into the actual nervous system, into the listening of another person that's right in front of you. And if you understand that and understand personality types, and then you can paint. That's the main thing, is to understand that psychology. But then you have to be fully self-expressed and very honest, very vulnerable, very you. Don't be
Okay.
afraid to be yourself. And a lot of people have a lot of fear or nervousness. And when a person is nervous, that's because they're thinking about themselves. What am I going to say? How am I going to look right? Am I going to miss a word? No, it's never about you. It always is about them. So remember, the main thing I would say is that for speakers, when we're on the stage, we are the director. The audience is the star. We're not the star of the show. We're the director. And our job is to help the audience get their Oscar.
Gotcha. I love that. And that's easy to remember because I mean, look, I've spoken on so many stages and you and I have shared stages together and I always get nervous. So now I'm going to keep telling myself it's not about me. It's about the audience. All right. So what's number 2?
Well, that's the first part. The second part is that when you understand how to use your voice, and the second thing I would say, Michelle, is using your voice and learning the power of telling your story, whether it be the story of your company or your personal story. And how do you combine the two? Because in speaking, it's not just becoming a professional speaker. You have to speak in a boardroom. You have to speak when you want to get financial assistance. You have to speak in relationships. So how do you use your voice and how do you tell your story? And that's really the key. The magic is there because you want to get good at taking a person on a journey within themselves that they can never go on by themselves.
I love that. Okay. And number 3.
And the third thing is that when you're coming to selling from the stage, that number one, you want to make sure you build out a program that has a maintenance plan. That you want to be, the great thing about that is that people are going to spend good money to work with you. And you're going to get to know them. So you're building a community. You're building people that will be entrenched in your life. So what happens after they go home? Most people can slingshot right back into the norms because human beings, we do conform. So what you want to do is create a maintenance plan, create the next step for them to go in and make them a part of it. And remember, they're not your competition. You know, a rising tide to float all boats. You do some magical things when you help empower other people. So I would say always make sure that your question you have every single day is how can we make the lives better of the people that we're serving?
Right. All right. Love that. So you've taught women and you do remind me, the first time I ever heard you speak, I'm like, is that Les Brown? He was on my show. He was actually on my show this week.
Yeah.
So, so you've also worked with small businesses, not just speakers, right? So you're pretty diversified. You've also worked with small businesses to help them build their business.
Yes, small and mid and large businesses as well in my career.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that I started off, I went to Les Brown in 1994 or 1995 to find out how to tell a story.
Right.
And as we evolve, so he started off being my mentor and we go back and forth. And now he calls me his coach because even the industry has shifted. There's a shift in the industry. And there's a big difference between becoming a great speaker and running a business behind it. And I think that's one of the things I was able to bring. And we've been brothers for 24 years. So we sounded like this because we're silly together. I know if he was on your show, you had fun.
I love him. Yeah, I love him. He's a hoot, that's for sure.
Yes.
All right. So what do you feel like is the biggest mistake that you see business owners make? Because, you know, the business landscape has changed dramatically where it used to be that startups were at great risk, right? 1 to 5 years. And now it's not really startups that are at risk anymore. Now it's those business owners that have been in business over 10 years. 70% of them are at great risk of going out of business. And that's out of 27.6 million businesses. And guess what? That's before COVID.
Yeah.
And these businesses are dropping like flies. So based upon all your experience and your diversified background, what do you think is some of the biggest issues?
Well, I think number one, most businesses are running on old software. We live in an age of innovation. Every generation, children are speaking different, their language. Nobody's talking to them and asking them really what do they want, what needs to happen. So they're trying to drive a wedge through because something's working and you get good at it, you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and really big boats turn really slow. And I look at companies like McDonald's, for example, massive company. But when Dave started Wendy's, he began to brand himself before, and then McDonald's came back with Ronald McDonald. So how do you create that brand, and how do you look at what's next? How do you stay ahead of the curve or set the trend or be a great part of it to ride that wave by creating a tremendous amount of value? So I think a lot of companies sometimes forget that. And I can find so many people that get anchored in wanting to be right instead of wanting to be successful. And it's two totally different things.
I love that. So big difference. Why don't you post that real quick? Wanting to be right, right?
Yes.
Wanting to be right instead of wanting to be different.
Be successful.
Be successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you about software. I just feel like that the business owners that have been in this business 10 years or longer, these businesses have just become so complacent, and they stop asking their clients, what do you need? What do you want? How can I make it easier for you to do business with us? And it's all about their own agenda and not about the client's agenda. And they stop innovating and they stop marketing. I mean, I got a perfect example. I got a dance studio that my daughter goes to dance at, and Hurricane Katrina stopped, not Hurricane Katrina, the last hurricane we just had, Hurricane Zeta. And Hurricane Zeta wiped out the power. Well, she sends an email at 4:00 on a Monday saying that the studio's closed. Well, my nanny had left math tutoring early to get her to dance on time. So I texted the owner and I said, can you just text us that the dance studio's closed so we're not leaving math early instead of sending emails? We get hundreds and hundreds upon emails. And oh, by the way, and checking your private Facebook group. And she says, no, it's not an option right now to do that. And I said, oh, so it's an option to inconvenience your customers. I get it. It's an option to inconvenience your clients. I said, my IT guy can set up for you in 2 minutes. She goes, we can set it up. We know how to do it. We're just not doing it this year. That kind of stuff, that attitude right there is what causes people to go out of business. Would you agree?
Well, absolutely. But you have to realize that we conform as human beings. There was, when they first invented the automobile and they heard about the automobile, and the people, everybody had horses and they were fighting, and you had to save money to own your own horse. If you had horses, you were somebody. And there's somebody who wanted to buy 10,000 horses, and because there weren't roads. There weren't service stations to fuel these cars. So in the reality of looking at your mind based on where your sight is, you can't see this happening for anytime soon, if it ever can work. And they bought all these horses because most people suffer from a poverty of imagination. A poverty of imagination. And if you combine that with the weakness of attention, where a person's not paying attention to what's happening around them, because sometimes we get stuck in our own world. And the great thing about companies that understand why it's important to bring people in, like yourself and myself, is because we can help you see something you can't see. We all have blind spots, and you can't see the label if you're inside of the jar.
Yeah, but the business owners have to be receptive to it.
Yeah.
And this business owner obviously isn't.
Yeah.
And, I think some business owners maybe think they're too big for their britches and think I'm going to be in business no matter what. Well, you keep providing bad service, you're going to be out of business rather quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And those things happen. That's like the frog in the pot. It happens really slow. And you cook up, and next thing you know, you're just done. You're soup.
That's correct. That's correct.
Because when it hits the fan, then they want to change really fast, but it doesn't really work that way. But the key thing is that to keep inspiring people to think of a world that has not yet been created. Robert F. Kennedy said, some see the world as it is and ask why. Others see the world as it could become and say, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're in the why not crowd.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. There's so many great business owners out there trying to do the right thing, trying to provide customer service, the right client service, trying to take care of their clients, trying to make life easier for their clients and stay easier for themselves. And they're still struggling. So what tips do you have for business owners in today's age, with COVID and everything else that's happening? Because in Louisiana, we have like a double whammy. We have COVID and then we have the hurricanes.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But sometimes a hurricane will wash the disease right out of the way. So I think that right now.
Amen.
Yeah, it's about being able to pivot. I go back to the poverty of imagination. If you look at, I remember Target, Walmart, these stores, we used to go there to buy back to school clothes and to buy house goods. And they said, well, why don't we why don't we go ahead and compete with Toys R Us? And they got a toy department. They can buy their pricing a lot lower because it was so massive. And how come we can't compete a little bit with Home Depot? We don't need lumber, but the smaller things you need for your house, we can supply that.
Right.
And then they went against Office Max and Office Depot. And then they said, well, what about they wiped Circuit City off the face of the planet, so Best Buy. And then they had the pharmacy where you have to sit there. And we know how they use the music, because the music gets you to want to buy everything set to how to stimulate your nervous system and play in your subconscious to get you to enjoy the experience. If you're hungry, there's a Subway sandwich shop. Some of them have Starbucks. Some of them have McDonald's. If you want a bakery, you need to get a cake or fresh bread. You have it there. And then every weekend, my mom would take all of us to the grocery store. 7 stops. We had to go to the grocery store on Saturday. So they kind of figured it out. And they figured it out, but then along came a guy who was selling all these books, the greatest book salesman in the world, Amazon. And when they built it up, they realized that they were really, really great at fulfillment. So they started off, and you know these stories, they were great selling books, but then they were better at fulfillment. And then they got the AWS and they spread it out, and now they can market everything. And now everybody's trying to catch up, because what they understood at the end of the day, if you can service the customer and give them great value, great prices, better than anyone else can do, then you can win. So
that's right. And you've said what I've been saying for years.
Yeah.
Whoever makes it easiest to do business with that company are the ones who are winning. Yes. It just flabbergasts me. I just is shocked by so many companies that make it hard to do business with them. Like you are like pleading with them. Let me give you a check. Let me do business with you. And then it's so difficult. But you know, what I loved about Amazon's story is kind of like the Apple story and McDonald's story. Is Amazon asked, what business are we in, which is the book business, right? And what all businesses should be asking themselves, what business should we be in? What business are we in? What business should we be in? Because that one little question and that answer to that question is going to catapult your business to the next level. I mean, that's what Steve Jobs did when he came back to Apple. He said, what business are we in? And they're like, we're in the computer business. He said, no. We don't want to be in a computer business. We want to be in a communications business. No matter where we are, we have one of these. No matter where we are, we can talk to each other around the world. And that's kind of what happened to McDonald's too. You remember the McDonald's story, the real McDonald's, not Ray Kroc?
Yeah. The McDonald's brothers tried to franchise it twice and couldn't make it work.
And Ray Kroc came in, and Ray Kroc was in the bank trying to borrow money because he was over leveraged. He put out a lien against his house, and he was trying to borrow money because he wasn't making any money. And the bank said, no, we're not going to lend you more money. You know, you're over leveraged. And he walked outside of the bank really upset. And do you remember the guy that followed him out afterwards? And asked him, he said, what business are you in? And Ray Kroc said, we're in the restaurant business. He said, no, that's not the business you're in. What business are you in? And he said, and he said, you need to be in the real estate business. Because if you're in the real estate business, then guess what you have? You have assets. And you can borrow money against your assets. Plus, you can lease the real estate to the franchisees. And if the franchisees are not compliant, because back in those days, they were not compliant, then you can, terminate their franchise agreement and get another franchisee in there. So to this day, because of that one question that this gentleman asked, McDonald's is the largest real estate holding company in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what Amazon did. They asked that question, fulfillment.
Yeah. And then they partnered with a great partner with Coca-Cola, who had the #1 soda brand in the world. And
and Coca-Cola's brand alone is worth $83 billion. That's without cash flow, inventory, assets, or anything. So you and I always speak the same language, because that's it. They're not in the book business, they're in a fulfillment business. And they did what every company should be doing, make it easier to do business with them.
Yes. And then they partnered up with everyone who had a product out there that they wanted to move, and the best products, they brought them. But the main thing was they didn't have to get everything. You get anything from Amazon. They don't have to own everything. I think the next thing is great partnerships. And most people are afraid to partner.
Great partnerships. I think it's huge. And you just said something very important. And I don't even know if you realize how important it was. You don't have to own everything. I mean, I just talked to a company that's crushing it. And they've been in business 2 years, and they're going to do $13 million next year, 2 years in business, crushing it. And they have 2 independent contractors and 2 owners, and they don't own anything.
There it is. There it is. Yeah. Today I find it's so easy, really. A lot of people think it's so much scarcity, but everything you need to succeed, everything that's ever been created from the beginning of time is already always been here.
Right.
It's always here. It didn't just reappear. We just didn't see it or know what to do with it. That's why I always talk about the poverty of imagination. When you fill that imagination up, you can monetize your skill set. You can monetize, I know people who are hoarders who have millions of dollars of crap in their house because their crap is somebody else's glory. They just got to get it out to the market. Craigslist, put it in the backyard. There's always a way to create, because money goes where it's welcome and it stays where it's money goes where it is invited and it stays where it's welcome.
Oh, I love that. Money goes where it's invited and it stays where it's welcome. We love James Dentley. Let's post that on Facebook. So I love that. And I say it too, that there's money all around us. And even during COVID, there's opportunities everywhere. And just like the Great Depression, there were more millionaires, founded out of the Great Depression than ever before. And I think the same is going to hold true with COVID. I mean, there's so many business owners starting technology companies, education online, etc., that are really doing well. So you just got to open up your mind, and you got to be transformational, not transactional.
Yeah, absolutely. You look what Uber's doing, and you look at companies like that. I mean, they're innovating as we're preparing for driverless cars. In the meantime, they can move you around, and also, so a person can take their vehicle. They have to own no cars. Look at a multi-billion-dollar company, and they own any car. They say more taxis in the world with no cars.
Right.
It's incredible. And then they take the same cars and bring you food. So COVID happens. Nobody can come in. Okay, we'll bring it to you. So a lot of companies, and some companies, it took a long time to make that shift.
I know. Because people get stuck and, they freeze and they panic. And when you panic, you're not doing anything. And you need to do the opposite. You need to take massive action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what other tips do you have? What other golden nuggets do you have for us? Dr. Dentley, I should say.
Well, I believe I mentioned this earlier, great partnerships and great joint ventures. I think that's really the key. I remember, Michelle, about 30 years ago, I walked into Kinko's and I saw a Federal Express. And that was the first time it hit me. And then 5 years later, I would go to the drive-through restaurant, and I would go to KFC, and there would be Pizza Hut in the KFC. Why are you doing Pizza Hut? You go to get KFC if they get pizza. No, they saw something that was bigger about the strategy of, if you go to McDonald's, it's usually going to be a Burger King or somebody else close to them. They've already done all their homework. They already know what's there. So just smart business. But when you have the power of the joint venture, then you can do some phenomenal things. The second thing is that it's better to have a small piece of something really big than a big piece of something really small. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we want to own everything, and we need to hold on to it because we're afraid someone's going to take it from us. They're going to take it from us. And think about it. What percentage of Microsoft does Bill Gates own?
I don't even know anymore. Probably very small.
Under 5%.
What's that?
Under 5%.
Under 5. I was going to say 10.
Yes, well under 5%. And, he makes billions and billions of dollars. So if he dropped $200 bills on the ground, it costs him more money to stop and pick it up.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So I think the main thing is that we're average people. We're all people. Yeah. Everyone can do it. But sometimes we have to get out of our environment, and we have to seek excellence. We have to seek service, and we have to provide service. Service has to be the cornerstone, and we have to invest in lifelong learning. And there's some people who have been around forever, and they're brilliant, but they forget some of the things that they know that brought them there. And I believe when you're teaching, you're learning again. So once taught, twice learned, but always involve and surround yourself, just like we were at the BOA when we were down there about a week or so ago, to surround yourself with other people who are doing it, because Les Brown always says you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. You can learn something from everyone.
Yes, and if I remember correctly, Les Brown told me he reads 12, 15 books a month.
Wow.
A lot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now I know he gets his jokes.
A lot. So that's great. That's great advice too. And I think that's one of the biggest issues is that business owners, they don't hire their weaknesses. You know, entrepreneurs think that they need to do everything and they don't hire their weaknesses. And that's the biggest thing I think an entrepreneur needs to do is hire the weaknesses, focus on their strengths, hire people that are smarter than you, and align yourself with somebody who's already been down the road you want to travel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which will shorten your path immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of times it's just really about continuously keeping finding and keeping clarity.
Finding and keeping clarity. Yep.
Keeping your clarity, because when you get in the mode of finding your clarity, you calm down. And when you calm down, you can see things differently. You're not in a rush. You're not under stress. It's like sitting on a hill on a beautiful day, watching everything come into slow motion. And that's why even when Katrina happened or any disaster happened, the animals always know when to get out of there. Okay. Because everything in the universe speaks. And then when we're quiet times and we're focusing with intention on calling the things we really want, those answers will be revealed to us, but it gets really, really noisy. So we got to calm down sometimes and let it just come to us. And you ask yourself even better questions. How can I serve people? How can I serve humanity? How can I serve the planet? Children, whatever it is, whatever is, how can I serve at even a higher level? You ask that question. And I promise that thinker thinks and approver approves. You keep asking the question because 95% of our life is driven by subconscious, and we don't spend time feeding it and letting it and tap in.
Right.
And we miss the answer.
Right. And where focus goes, energy flows, right?
And there you go. Amen. That's my book.
Amen. All right. So tell our audience, because I love this. Every time I hear you on stage or I see you, or even when we hung out in Florida last week, I'm like, tell us about the dolphins. Tell us about the whales. Tell us about the personalities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, communication is something really, really big for me. Learning how to become a better communicator. And I'll say this, first of all, we're having this women's event that you're speaking on December 11th, 12th, and 13th. Mm-hmm. And I believe the number one language we need to really focus on in this country, in this United States, in the world, the number one language is gender. Mm. We have to learn to listen better. Mm-hmm. And my wife still reminds me of that every week.
I remind my husband of that every week.
And I'll tell you, but a lot of times when you meet people and you're interacting, sometimes people, they may rub you the wrong way or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you communicate with them and it's like they don't hear you or they get offended by it. And that's because we're all anchored in our personalities. And that's where it kind of begins. And there's a shape to our paradigms and the way we perceive our whole life growing up. But I call them the dolphin, the shark, the urchin, and the whale. And this comes from Personality Plus.
The dolphin, the shark, the urchin, and the whale. Yeah, okay, dolphin, I want to make sure we post that on Facebook.
Urchin and the whale. Now, we all have all the personalities, but we're anchored usually in 1, 2, or 3 of them. The more personalities you score close numbers to when you take your profile, the more you're able to communicate to a variety of people. Now, the shark, for example, is they're money motivated. They're extremely competitive. They like to win. They're aggressive people. They'll go through a brick wall. That's a leader on a football team. That's your shark. Your shark likes they're sharp dressers. They like sharp, sexy, powerful cars and jewelry, and Rolex watches. That would be your shark. They wear their $5,000, glass rims. That's your shark. Now, there are people that you want on your team when you want to win, but they sometimes can come off a little abrasive. They give you the feeling they don't care about anything except winning or about money. Okay. And we all know people like that. Then there's the dolphins. The dolphins love to have fun. The dolphins are the life of the party. When they walk in, the party begins. You can't wait for them to come. However, they're going to be late and they're not going to be as organized. A dolphin will have 3 to 6 junk drawers in their home. Nothing would be organized, but they're just a tremendous amount of fun. They're very innovative. They're very imaginative. They just get it done. When you see someone, they like colors. So if they have a different color like blue in their hair, that's your dolphin. They got big earrings, your dolphin. Big jewelry around the wrist, that's your dolphin. They love colors. They don't like boring things. They like to travel. They like things that are moving. Now, dolphins and sharks move fast in the water. They make decisions quickly. If a dolphin sees a ball, something they want to play with, they go. A shark sees something they want to eat, well, it's over. They going. Okay. Now, you have your urchin. Your urchin is very conservative. A lot of your engineers will be urchin. If you see a person with a dress shirt on and they have a pocket and they have a pad in that pocket, urchin. Trust me. Pen, nobody else is going to, a shark's not going to mess their shirt up. That's the Mark Blanc, a very expensive pen. You're not going to see that. That's going to be your urchin. They're going to dress in a lot of your grays, your browns, and blues, and sometimes all at the same time. A dolphin would never do that. I can't see Michelle in gray, blue, and brown at the same time. Not going to happen. Okay? But they're very analytical. They're very analytical people. They need information. They don't like hype. The dolphin likes fun. If you give a dolphin a lecture, their booty will go to sleep. But your urchins, they'll be all in. That's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear the fun stuff. They want to hear organization. Everything has its place. Right. Very, very organized people. But they come off a little anal. But they hate for things to start late. They like things to start they're very punctual people. Okay? And then we have the whale. The whale is a nurturer. Your whale is very soft-spoken. They wear earth tones. A whale can sit on grandmother's couch and blend into the fabric. They want to know they're there. They just like to help and serve and support people. Your social workers, pretty much they're going to be anchored in the whale.
Nonprofit, right?
Yeah, nonprofit, people that want to give, to serve, to make a difference. They're not really that interested in money. They want to know, first of all, are we really helping people? Now, if you notice, when I talked about the whale, my voice softened, and I'll talk about that. We talk about soundtrack because that's very important. Now, all these, and sometimes the whale can sometimes perceived to get taken advantage of a little bit because they are soft-spoken. Now, the shark and the whale are complete opposites, but they can get along and do business together. They can even be married. My grandfather was a shark. He was, my grandmother was the whale. Oh, he didn't mean it. He loves you. So the whale was softened the shark's teeth. Take those teeth and file them on down. Okay. They need each other. They balance each other out. Okay.
Right.
They bring the whale's humanity back. Maybe I won't eat her this time. Okay. Here you go. And then you have, if you look at the urchin and the dolphin, complete opposites. It's like the odd couple, Felix and Oscar.
Yeah.
One's sloppy and one's neat. One's late and one's on time. They argue all the time, but they were the best of friends because the dolphin kept the urchin busy. They gave him purpose to save my life. We know he's going to be the one's going to mess it all up, and I get to be right all the time. And as human beings, everything we do, we get something from it, or we don't do it. Because significance is the number one thing that people seek in our lives. So they give them that significance because they can tie it in. And then the dolphin has an urchin there that knows he's going to catch him, so he can take risk, or he can just mess with him a little bit when he feels a little inadequate. Okay.
Yeah, so, one of my brokers is definitely a dolphin.
Well, he's a dolphin.
I'm always cleaning up the mess.
Right. And sometimes you find people, they be very close scores and everything, but most of the time you're going to find someone that's high up here and they're communicating with somebody who's the shark is up here, this person's shark is down there. They're a little bit in conflict. So they have to learn to speak each other's language and they can get along and work it out. But
so when you get really good at mastering the art of sales,
yes,
when you really should mirror their level, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then bring them to your level. And that's mastery, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to be able to speak into their listening because, if you know what you are, the key now is to be able to engage and communicate in what you are not.
Right.
You can't ask them to change overnight and ask them to do it. It's not even fair. So I have to understand and respect that part. So when I walk in someone's office and I see, some people have everything to the left is in a pile, it's a mess, that's their dolphin. I can look at some pictures. I can look around what's in the office. I can look at what they're wearing. And if I can't tell, I can ask them a few questions about what do they like, what do they do, ask them about their life. They're going to let you know who they are. So if I'm talking to an urchin and I'm a dolphin or I'm a dolphin shark, I have to learn how to adjust and speak the urchin's language or they're going to tune me out. Right. They don't care about the fun and the result. Show me the process of how this works. Like, it's great. We're going to make all this money. It's great. We're going to have all this fun. Right. What's the process? How do we get there?
Right. Yeah. We talked to a $30-40 million company yesterday. It's got a great business and same thing. It's like, well, Michelle, put it all in writing. If this happens, that happens. If this happens, that happens. I'm like, okay, I'll create a flow chart for you.
There you go. Maybe try a flow chart.
So
Yeah.
what am I? What am I, Dr. Dentley?
Well, you're kind of balanced. You know, your nonprofit work is your whale, and your colors. I see your shark and your dolphin. You know, when I see the red all behind you, that's your dolphin, but it's also a part of your shark. So you're one of those dolphins who love to have fun, but you can eat them up alive. You're one of the dolphins with teeth.
I'm a
And
dolphin with teeth.
and see, to be in your field, you have to have the urchin. So
Yeah.
you're more balanced in those. You're more balanced in those. If I was to say out of all of them, I think the whale is probably the least one.
Mhm.
Okay, because the shark has to be there to perform. So I think you're a little bit. We do a profile. I'd be very interested. I think you're gonna you'll be surprisingly more balanced.
Yeah.
I am a dolphin shark, but here's the thing. Now you can have a lot of dolphin, but when there's a state of emergency and control has to be taken, your shark is going to come out and you're going to solve it.
Yeah. You told me last week in Florida I was a shark dolphin.
Yeah, shark dolphin. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really be in my industry without being a shark.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't. You can't.
But you
You
got to
can.
be a chameleon, like you said. You know, you got to learn to speak to those audiences.
Yes, I'm a dolphin shark. So, but when I have to take control, shark comes out, elevates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. As you were talking about that, I was like going through in my mind everybody on my team.
I'll send you a profile. I'll send you a profile and give them the profile.
Wonderful. And send me, and then maybe, I don't know, can you share that link with our audience? We can share that in our post.
I don't have it in a link. It's going to go out on a link at our women's event for everybody there. But I'll send it to you directly. I'll send you an email, and then you can set it up and send it out to everybody.
Wonderful. All right. So you've done so many things, like I said at the beginning of the show. And the other day when I heard you speak, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he did that. Oh my gosh, I didn't know he did that. Oh my gosh, I didn't know he did that. Like you were bringing back Sizzler days.
Yeah.
When you worked at Sizzler.
Steak and ale.
Yeah, steak and ale.
Right. Right.
Yeah, forgive me.
Yeah, that's okay. I like Sizzlers, but I manage steak and ale.
And then you moved into, which I've always thought is very, very difficult to move into, what do you call it? Direct marketing. Is it direct marketing?
Yeah, direct marketing, network marketing, multi-level.
Network marketing.
Yeah.
I've always thought that that's a tough industry, you know, to manage your downline and all that stuff, but you've been extremely successful in that.
Yeah.
Are you still playing in that role?
I have 150,000 people in our team. You know, right now,
Wow.
our residual are like 1.8 million a year.
I thought you were going to say a month.
That's a year. But that's good.
1.8 million a year on residual is pretty good.
Yeah, because you can will it. But the cool thing is that it allows us to serve it on nonprofit, but also to build the other companies that we have without worrying, because we don't have the challenge with having the capital situation.
Absolutely.
And we can hold it up. And you know what I really love, the thing I love about it is that we get the chance to work with people. And I work for people like some people, you know, that are speakers that are extremely successful. And they're doing 7 figures a month or a week sometimes, and they're part of our team.
Oh, wow.
Because they like to play, they want to do more, they want to help, and we just take and do more nonprofit or take it and invest it in different things together.
Great. So what was James Dentley like as a little boy?
I was the kid. Look, I had 3 sisters, and my mom worked at a grocery store in the day, a dentist's office at night. Now, first of all, I was very active. I ran my battleship into my sister's Barbie playhouse when I was 5. She forgave me when I was 30.
You ran your battleship into your sister's Barbie playhouse?
Yeah, a dream house. And I was just a mess. And this is my older sister. I would hit her and run, and she would chase me. I would close the door, and it was like road runner. The doorknob would hit her in the head every time she fall on the floor. And I had such a ball. But I would take the trash out, and I had one suit for Easter, and I would put my Easter suit on and just take the garbage out.
Really? Every day?
Every day.
Why would you put on a suit to take the garbage out?
Because I hated taking the garbage out, and I just wanted to make it interesting. It was so mundane. Take the garbage out. It was so mundane. And sometimes I wouldn't even take it out. I just throw it on the other side of the porch, and I would get in big trouble for that. But I put on a suit, and I had to dress up to make it interesting for me. My mom took me to see Peter Pan when I was a kid. Yeah. I never forgot it. Never ever forgot it. You know, so I always lived my life on, what's possible, what's next, and what can we create?
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So your sister did finally forgive you, right?
Oh yes, we're thick as thieves. I was a martial artist for 13 years. I taught and I competed, and I was an athlete as well. So, uh,
Cool.
but I started managing businesses, restaurants right out of high school. I started managing and
So back to the communication and the dolphins and the whales and the urchins and the sharks.
excuse
Let's
me.
talk about the political climate and what's going on in our country. And what is just Trump a shark? Is Biden, what is Biden? And why do you think it's ended up this way? And what's your thoughts on it? Just curious to get your thoughts.
I think the key of it is a lack of communication. We don't, I watch these campaigns. I've been watching politics for a few decades. And I see people only go to the states that they're interested in trying to win. They don't go everywhere. And then they get into an office and they don't go to the states unless they have to go. And sometimes it's a photo op. Well, all the time it's a photo op. But are they there and are they staying there? Are they engaging? I would tell you that honestly, I put myself in a state of mind that no matter who would win the election, we still have work to do and we still have to come together because I don't have a problem with any person and what they believe in because they're entitled to do it. I need to listen to them. And when I was out there with you in Florida, and we were upstairs that evening with the friends that came with you, I was sitting there with two other people, and we had the most great conversation because I was able to ask them some questions and really listen to them and appreciate that even though we might have chosen different candidates, that he was a great guy.
Yeah.
All of my neighbors are Republican Trump, and I voted Republican before. I just happen to like Mr. Biden because of the empathy. I have a soft spot for people I believe really care. Now, you have to be competent, but you have to really care about the average person. And it's not about what you believe in. Can you have the empathy and the heart to care about everyone and meet them where they are and to respect them where they are?
I think Trump cares. Do you not think Trump cares?
Well, I don't know, but I know I've been watching Joe Biden way before Barack Obama. For me, when he had the accident with his children, I know people who met him and he stopped and talked to them. And I'm not saying Trump. I know people who know Trump. He was the head of ACN, the nonprofit. So I don't have anything against Trump. I mean, I get it. I just want the madness. I would hope that we can let the madness stop and come together without an outside force attacking the country, and then all of us come together anyway. So we're like siblings that are fighting about something that we shouldn't really be fighting.
What communication style was demonstrated throughout this entire campaign, and which communication style do people?
Well, remember, if you look at Jim Jones, and this is not about Trump. Let's take that off the table. This is about just leadership. Okay, yeah. Jim Jones got 913 people to go to another country on a boat and drink poison Kool-Aid. Now he forced some, but he had help, so he got people to enroll. There was another gentleman who was in California, and he got 16 wealthy people to get on a white robe with purple and black gym shoes and drink poison pudding and drink vodka to kill themselves because they wanted to catch the Hale-Bopp comet that was going to come to Earth once every 1,000 years and take people to another place, a euphoria. Wow. And people of means believed him. And at first they didn't. They went and got a telescope to prove that the comet was not coming. Right. And they so yet believe that they didn't even believe their eyes. They focus in on what was said. And I think that, in our paradigm, based on where we grew up, like if you grew up in India, 70% of us would be Hindu. That's all you would know. So I think that, first of all, the way we think it comes from somewhere, those paradigms are set very, very early, and they become cultural. And I understand that all of us, the cool thing is that everybody is different in their DNA and the fingerprint and all these things. And somehow we start becoming very, very tribal instead of being very, very individual.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
And I believe at the end of the day, even if you're going to be tribal, then let's strike a peace treaty and let's respect one another and find out what is it that you want, what's important to you, what is important. And then let's appreciate that and find a common ground that we can agree upon. And certain things you may not be able to budge on. And I get it. But then we can walk away understanding that, and perhaps you can walk away saying, hey, he was a nice guy, even though we don't believe it, but we can still hang out and still be friends. I don't think we need to be against each other in that.
Well, and I think that's the sad thing is that, this election and last election just broke up so many families and friendships and even marriages, believe it or not. It's ridiculous, that we shouldn't let politics break up our families.
But sometimes a storm will purge the way for a brighter future, because sometimes a storm can come through and it seems very destructive, but when it's all gone, you get a chance to rebuild, to restore, to make it new, and you learn a lot of things from that. So I believe that everything works out for the good. I'm a very optimistic person because I just choose that, because that makes my life very simple and happy every single day. So
I agree.
So I think it's all good, and everything would be fine no matter who would win. That's the president. And
we just got to come together as a nation.
Yeah, it's the president, no matter who it is. That's the deal. And let's just go with it.
And you need to respect it.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, Mr. Dentley, Dr. Dentley? What's next for you? You've done so many things.
I am so excited. We are not just launching a streaming TV network. We're launching a platform for hope and inspiration. And I'm so excited because when we were together at the VOA, there was a gentleman that actually showed a movie. Were you there for this movie?
Yes, I was.
Now we're in Florida, and he lives down the street from me.
In Chicago. Aren't you glad I invited you to that event?
Yes, you did. Absolutely. Yes, I am. I tell you, I am. I'm doing Jeff Hoffman's now with a group of people, and we're having a blast that one. So the two together are just incredible. But with this streaming network, we decided that our brand is going to be giving hope, inspiration, making it fun, positive programming, and we'll have something that no matter what you believe in, no matter who you are, you'll be able to be represented. We're going to take average people who want to tell their story and put them on television and make them the star of the show. We're going to have super viewers that may have a piece of ownership of that. They're going to win prizes and things like that through our little commercials and maybe trivia. And we just want to give and give and give and create a fun place where people can enjoy some great programming that's not boring, that touches the children, that touches every genre. And but they know when they go there, they're not going to be a horror film there for them.
I love that. So when is that going to be? When's that going to be released? Where's it going to be at?
We're soft launching JD3 TV the weekend you're speaking. December 11th, 12th, and 13th will be our soft launch.
Okay.
We're building out our studio right now. We just started filming a lot yesterday, and we're going to have the cannabis comedy show that I'm the executive producer of. We're starting that to film next week. And we just got a lot of people now. We're blocking and teaching people now how to be in front of the camera. So December 11th, 12th, and 13th, we'll do a soft launch. The end of January, we'll pre-launch. And I have another event coming up in April, and that's going to be the grand launch, but it will be open at the end of the year. This will be going to be up, and it'll be already running.
Where's it going to be aired?
It's going to be aired at jd3.tv, as well as you'll be able to see our work on Roku, Amazon, Fire, Ice. We're getting calls every day from people that want us to bring our content.
That's awesome.
That's going on their venue too.
So what keeps you motivated? What keeps you centered? What keeps you grounded?
Oh, man, I have this incredible life that has not always been easy. I've been through cancer, I've been through sarcoidosis, and been on prednisone forever. I've had people,
I used to be on prednisone, so I can relate to you.
Yeah, 8 years. Man, I was up to 374 pounds at one point. I was like, whoo.
Wow, I was on it as a teenager for asthma.
Yeah, but I had sarcoidosis in the lungs. My lungs were excessively scarred, and for a non-smoker, quite disturbing. But for me, my wife and my family give me immense joy. Every day I wake up, I fall in love with my wife every day like it's the first day. Although we wake up, we wave at each other like we just hi like this, and it's so fun. But my sisters, my children, I'm so happy and thankful that we have really good people in our family, and that's one thing I attribute that to my mom and her family. Her dad's born on the same day my dad was born. Same exact.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, her dad was 86. My dad passed away. He was like 83.
Wow.
But
That's
they
fantastic.
born that same day. So just family and great friends. And I'll tell you, spending time with you and the people that we know together, we have a great time together, and we learn a lot from each other. And we get a chance to play.
We do get a chance to play, and thank you so much for helping us support Exit Rich, the Means Karen Lecter.
Count on it.
And What do you think is some of the biggest or one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make? I mean, obviously not hiring me. Or what else?
Honestly, you hit the nail on the head. You have to invest into becoming better and in making sure that you see. Sometimes things kind of slip away from us. It's like a child that's growing up. The kid can't see their feet grow. Next thing you know, you see a kid, you see them again, they're just bigger. The same thing happens with challenges in your business, is that you have to stay on top of it. And you need something from the outside to refresh it every now and again, and also the innovation of it. So I think to invest in people like yourself, they can come in and look at your business and see something that you're not able to see. And then you can make decisions intelligently on something that's factual.
I always say it's hard to read the label from the inside of the bottle. You need an outsider's perspective to read the dangers, read the danger zones, the warning signs, and keep you out of the danger zone.
Yes. You cannot see the picture if you're in the frame. Can't see
the forest or the trees. And when you're in your fog, it's foggy. You and I can go on all day long.
You win.
Any last minute tips for our listeners?
Well, I would say, 2020, we always said was the year of clarity. 2020, I mean, we had these great cliches, and it really was. It just wasn't what we expected. But in the midst of calamity, there's always going to be great opportunities. Mm-hmm. But right now, we know that there's always been a state of emergency. That was something was to happen. Most people weren't ready. Most companies weren't ready. Right. But it put us in a situation that we have to evolve. We have to go back to the origins of creation, how the entire country was built in the first place. So what can we create? Because there's things inside of you that can make this world better, and can bring services and bring products and opportunities and jobs to people, and you're sitting on it thinking that you don't matter. So I would say that you do matter. Van Gogh said that I dreamed of my painting and then I painted my dream. So what are you dreaming about? And are you paying attention to your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations? What are you doing? So I would close by saying, just follow your dreams wherever they may lead, and never get distracted by less worthy deeds. Remember to shelter them and nourish them and help them to grow. Let your heart hold them down deep where dreams go. You follow your dreams. You pursue them with haste. Remember and never forget that your life, the only one you get, it's too precious and it's too fleeting to waste. So be faithful and be loyal in all your days through. Those dreams you follow, I promise they'll keep coming true.
I love that. I love you, James.
I love you,
Dr. Dentley. All right. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening to Exit Rich. And you can go to exitrich.com and get more information, or find your exit.com and seilertucker.com and get more information on Dr. James Dentley. Thank you so much for all of your words of wisdom.
Thank you for having me. I got to jump on my show now.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Exit Rich podcast. Don't forget to check out Michelle Seiler Tucker's Build to Sell Blueprint books and Exit Rich, along with more blogs, videos, and resources at exitrichpodcast.com. Be sure to connect with Michelle on Facebook or LinkedIn, and stay tuned for her next episode by subscribing in your favorite podcast player.